She told everyone I was controlling, that I was the reason she couldn't breathe. They laughed, said I was old-fashioned. But 3 weeks later, she found out what real freedom costs, when no one picked up her frantic calls. Hey folks, before I tell you how my wife turned our marriage into her stage and how I quietly ended the show, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments if you've ever seen someone destroy the life they begged for. It started like any other Friday. I'd just gotten home from work, still wearing my suit jacket, the smell of rain clinging to me after a long commute. Our house looked like a tornado had passed through. Heels by the stairs, wine glasses on the counter, and the faint echo of pop music upstairs. I followed the sound and found Lauren, my wife of 8 years, standing in front of the mirror, applying lipstick like she was auditioning for a role. She looked stunning, but not for me. "Girls' night," she said, catching my reflection in the mirror. Her tone was sharp, rehearsed, like she'd already played this scene in her head. "With who?" I asked, though I already knew. "Ashley and Brooke," she answered, rolling her eyes. The same two women who believed every marriage was a mistake men forced them into. I didn't argue. I just leaned against the doorframe and watched her. "You ever notice," I said, "you always come home from those nights a little less married?" She froze mid-swipe with the lipstick, glared at me through the mirror. "Don't start." I didn't. I just looked at her dress. Tight, short, the kind of outfit that belonged to someone who wanted to be noticed by anyone except the man who paid for the house she was leaving from. "You don't like it?" she said finally. "I didn't say that," I replied. "I just don't remember when we stopped dressing for each other." Her jaw clenched. "You're not my father, Mark. I don't need permission to go out with my friends." There it was, the spark that would light everything. I nodded slowly. "You're right. You don't need permission. But don't expect me to act like I'm fine with being treated like a roommate who pays your bills." She laughed then, the kind of cold laugh that strips the last layer of hope from a room. "You're unbelievable. You think because you work and pay for things that gives you control over me? I'm not your property." I walked closer, my voice calm. "No, you're my wife. At least, you used to be." She turned, her perfume filling the space between us. "You really want to fight about this now?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm done fighting." She smirked, misreading my silence for surrender. "Good. Then I'm going out." She grabbed her purse and phone, ignoring the way my eyes followed her to the door. When the front door slammed, the whole house fell silent. I walked upstairs and saw her wedding ring still sitting in the jewelry tray by the sink. She hadn't even noticed she left it behind. That small circle of gold caught the light, and something in me shifted. I didn't feel angry, just tired, like I'd finally reached the edge of a long road that had no return sign. Hours passed. The clock hit midnight, then 2, then 3. I was half asleep on the couch when my phone buzzed. One message, then another. I rubbed my eyes, opened the screen, and there it was, her text. No greeting, no punctuation, just raw, late-night arrogance. "I don't need permission to live my life," she wrote. "I'm finally having fun again, real fun, without you judging me." My chest felt heavy, but not from hurt. From certainty. Certainty that something had ended right there, between those glowing words and my stillness. Another text followed. "This is what freedom feels like." I stared at it, then typed my reply. "Then stop coming home." I hit send. Watched the screen go dark. It was 3:12 a.m. when the call started. The first few, I ignored. By the 10th, I turned the phone face down. 23 missed calls later, the sound finally stopped. The silence was peaceful, like the moment after a storm when you realize the damage is done and all that's left is to rebuild. At a sunrise, I made coffee, the smell filling the kitchen she once claimed was too small for her aesthetic. I sat by the window, watching the world outside come alive, and felt something I hadn't felt in years: control. Not over her, but over myself. Over my peace. She didn't come home that morning. Not that day. Not the next. But that text, that moment, had already done the job. The woman who said she didn't need permission was about to learn what it means when someone finally believes her. When I woke up the next morning, the sun was streaming through the kitchen window, casting long gold lines across the table where I'd left my coffee cup. The world outside looked the same, but inside the house, something had shifted. The air felt lighter. I didn't rush to check my phone. I didn't wonder where she was. I just sat in the quiet and listened to the hum of the refrigerator, the birds outside, the sound of peace that had been missing for years. Around 9, my phone buzzed again. Not a call this time, a text. "We need to talk." I didn't respond. Another came a few minutes later. "I didn't mean it like that. You're overreacting." Then, "I'm coming home." I looked at the screen, then locked it, and slipped the phone back into my pocket. No reply. I'd said what I needed to say at by noon. I'd cleaned the house, done a load of laundry, even fixed the broken hinge on the bathroom cabinet that she'd been complaining about for months. It felt good to do things for myself without hearing her voice narrating every step. Around 1 o'clock, a car door slammed outside. I glanced through the blinds and saw Lauren standing on the porch. Her hair was messy, makeup smudged, eyes red. She tried her key, but I'd already changed the locks that morning. She knocked once, then again. "Mark, open up. This is ridiculous." I opened the door, but didn't step aside. She looked startled. "What's going on? Why doesn't my key work?" I kept my tone even. "Because I changed the locks." Her eyes widened. "You can't just do that." "Actually," I said, "I can." She crossed her arms, trying to gather her usual confidence. "We had an argument, that's all. You can't just shut me out because we fought." I shook my head. "We didn't have an argument, Lauren. You made a declaration. You said you don't need permission to live your life. So I'm letting you live it." Her voice softened, like she was switching tactics. "You're taking this too far." I was drunk. "I didn't mean it." "You meant every word," I said quietly. "Maybe not consciously, but you meant it." She glanced past me into the house. "Can we at least talk inside?" I stepped aside only halfway. 5 minutes. She walked in like someone entering a stranger's home. The smell of cleaning products, the neatly folded laundry, the absence of her chaos, it all unsettled her. "You cleaned," she said, almost in disbelief. "Yeah," I replied. "Turns out the house stays cleaner when it's just me." She looked around, taking in the emptiness, the silence, and then she turned to me. "I made a mistake, okay? I went out, had a few drinks, said some stupid things. I was mad." I met her gaze. "You weren't mad, Lauren. You were honest. That's the difference." She dropped her purse on the counter. "So what, you're just done?" "After 8 years. I was done the moment you stopped respecting me," I said. "Last night was just the confirmation." She scoffed, trying to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. "You're being dramatic." I folded my arms. "No, I'm being clear." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she walked to the living room, picked up one of the framed photos from our wedding. "We used to be happy," she said quietly. "Yeah," I replied. "We used to be." She set the photo down, her hands trembling slightly. "Please, don't do this. We can fix it." I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just certainty. "I don't think so," I said. "You don't fix something by pretending it isn't broken." She stared at me for a long moment before realizing I meant it. Her eyes filled with tears. "You're really throwing this away?" I shook my head. "No, Lauren. You did that when you walked out last night." She picked up her purse, biting her lip. "So that's it. That's it." She hesitated at the door, then turned back. "You'll regret this." "I already did," I said softly. She left without another word. I watched her car back out of the driveway and disappear down the street. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peaceful, final, and full of possibility. That afternoon, I sat down with my laptop and started sorting through the financials. Bank accounts, mortgage, insurance, things I'd always handled. But this time, I did it with a new purpose. Not to maintain a shared life, but to protect my own. I called an attorney. The receptionist's voice was calm and efficient. "We can have you speak with Mr. Jensen at 10 tomorrow morning," she said. Perfect. That night, the calls started again. First one, then another, then a string of them back to back. I let them go to voicemail. When I finally checked, there were 12 messages waiting. I poured a drink and sat on the couch, listening. The first few were angry, shouting about how I was acting childish. Then came the pleading. "Please, Mark, just talk to me." I didn't mean it. Then the desperation. "You can't do this. We're married." Married people work through things. By the 10th message, she was crying. "I love you. Please, I'm scared. I don't know where to go." I deleted every message and turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. No noise, no anxiety, no waiting up wondering when she'd come home. Just silence. The kind that comes when you finally stop fighting battles that were lost long ago. When I woke the next morning, There were no new messages, no missed calls, nothing. Just the quiet hum of a house that finally belonged to me again. I made breakfast, sat by the window, and thought about how strange it was to feel free. Not the kind of freedom she bragged about at bars, but the kind that comes when you let go of what's been holding you back. Outside, the sky was bright and clear, and for the first time in years, I realized I didn't dread the day ahead. I wasn't wondering what version of her would walk through the door, or what excuse she'd offer for the distance between us. She'd made her choice. And now, for once, so had I. By Monday morning, I walked into Jensen's office with a folder under my arm and a calmness that felt foreign but good. The place was quiet, professional, full of that faint smell of coffee and paper that always meant serious business. Jensen was a solid man in his 50s, gray suit, calm eyes, the kind of lawyer who had seen it all. "You said you want a file?" he began after we shook hands. "Tell me what happened." I told him everything without embellishment, just the facts, the texts, the night she didn't come home, the drunken messages, the endless fights before that. He listened, occasionally nodding, making notes in neat, precise handwriting. "Based on what you've told me," he said finally, "this qualifies as abandonment. You can file immediately. The house is in your name." I nodded. "Then it's yours. She may try to contest, but she doesn't have a case. You were supporting her, and she left without cause." He pushed his glasses up his nose and added, "I'll have the papers ready within 48 hours. Do you want us to serve her?" I thought for a moment. "No," I said. "I'll do it myself." When I left his office, the sky was overcast, but I felt lighter than I had in years. I stopped by a hardware store and picked up a few things: new locks for the back door, paint for the living room, a few tools I'd been meaning to buy but never got around to. It wasn't about fixing the house anymore. It was about reclaiming it. My home had been a stage for her drama for too long, and I was done playing a supporting role. That evening, as I painted the first wall, my phone lit up again, her number. I let it ring. Then came a message. "Can we please talk? I just need to explain." I ignored it and kept painting. The next one came 5 minutes later. "I'm at Madison's. She says you're being ridiculous." That one made me laugh quietly. Of course Madison was involved. Madison, who'd been divorced twice and treated relationships like seasonal hobbies. I kept working, letting the messages pile up. By midnight, there were 15 unread texts. I went to bed, exhausted but strangely peaceful. The next morning, I got up early, put on a clean shirt, and went to work like nothing had happened. My coworkers noticed I was quieter than usual, but no one asked. At lunch, I called Jensen's office. "The papers are ready," his assistant said. "You can pick them up anytime after 2. Perfect. I left work a little early, drove to the office, and signed the final documents. It was strange, holding them in my hands. Just a few pages of legal text, but they represented the end of years of chaos. Jensen gave me a small, knowing nod. "Sometimes peace costs paperwork," he said. I left with the envelope in my hand, the air feeling colder but cleaner. When I got home, I set the envelope on the kitchen counter and looked around. Everything was in order. The dishes put away, the lights soft and warm. The house finally reflecting my mood instead of hers. Around 5, I got a message from an unknown number. "It's me. Madison said you won't answer. Please, Mark. I just want to come home." I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. "You already have a home. You left for it." I hit send and set the phone face down. An hour later, her car pulled into the driveway. I didn't even have to look out the window. I knew the sound. The knock came a few moments later, followed by her voice. "Mark, please. I just want to talk." I opened the door, calm, composed. She looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair tangled, makeup smudged. "I just need a chance to explain," she said. "Explain what?" I asked. "That you didn't mean what you said? Or that you didn't mean to get caught saying it?" She flinched. "I was drunk. It was stupid. So were the last 6 months of excuses," I said quietly. I handed her the envelope. She looked down, confused. "What is this? Divorce papers?" She froze. "You're serious?" I nodded. "Completely." She opened the envelope with shaking hands, eyes scanning the first page before looking up at me. "Over one mistake." I exhaled slowly. "This isn't about one night. It's about the last 100 nights I spent waiting for you to remember you were married." She started crying then. Real tears this time, not the manipulative kind she used when she wanted something. Please don't do this, she whispered. I can change. I'll stop going out. I'll fix it. I shook my head. You can't fix something you don't respect. And you stopped respecting this marriage a long time ago. She took a step closer, reaching for my hand. Mark, please. I love you. I pulled my hand back. No, Lauren. You love not being alone. She looked around, eyes catching on the small pile of her things by the door, photos, candles, the throw blankets she'd bought for decoration. What's all that? Your stuff, I said simply. The rest can wait until after the papers are signed. Her face twisted with disbelief. You really did this. I really did, I said. You should go. She stood there for a moment, shaking her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. You'll regret this, she said softly. No, I answered. I already did once. Then I closed the door. I heard her stand there for a while, maybe 5 minutes, before the sound of her car starting and driving away. That night, I poured myself a bourbon and sat by the window, watching the streetlights flicker. It felt strange, almost unreal, how quiet everything was. But beneath the quiet was something solid, something I hadn't felt in years: control. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wonder where she was or who she was with. For the first time, I didn't care. The next few days passed like a slow exhale. I went to work, came home, cooked for one, slept through the night. No drama, no shouting, no manipulation. Just peace. Every day felt like a step further from the chaos I'd been living in. And though I didn't know it then, that peace was about to become the sharpest contrast imaginable to the storm that was coming. A week passed before I heard anything else from her. I'd started running again, joining a small gym near the office, filling my evenings with long workouts and quiet dinners. My mind was finally starting to clear, like fog lifting after a storm. Then one evening, as I was finishing a late jog, my phone buzzed with a message from Madison of all people. She's not doing well, it read. I stood there on the sidewalk, sweat dripping, breath steady. I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. That's not my problem anymore, I replied. A minute later, another message came. She says she wants to talk. Just 5 minutes. I didn't respond. When I got home, I made dinner and turned on some music, low and calm. The kind of night that used to feel ordinary but now felt earned. The next day, Jensen called. Her lawyer reached out, he said. They want to contest the filing. I sighed. On what grounds? None that makes sense, he replied. She's claiming emotional manipulation. But the evidence you gave me, the messages, the call logs, makes that impossible to prove. We'll be fine. I thanked him and hung up, realizing that even now, she was still trying to control the narrative. That was her favorite trick. When she couldn't win, she'd rewrite the story. A few nights later, around midnight, the phone started buzzing again. Unknown number. I ignored it twice, but on the third call, I answered. It was her. Her voice was shaky. Mark, please, just listen. I'm staying at Madison's and things are getting bad. I can't sleep. I can't think. I miss you. I said nothing. Please, she went on. I know I messed up, but I'm begging you. I just need to talk. Her words were wet with tears, the kind of tears she used to use like a weapon. You should call someone else, I said. I'm not that person anymore. She started crying harder. You don't mean that. Yes, I do, I said and hung up. Then I blocked the number. After that night, I didn't hear from her directly again, but bits of information started trickling through mutual acquaintances. She'd lost her job at the boutique where she worked part-time. Madison was letting random men crash at the apartment, and it was turning into a circus. I didn't feel smug or vengeful, just detached, like watching a movie I'd already seen. I'd warned her about the people she surrounded herself with, and she'd laughed in my face. Now those same people were the ones watching her unravel. 2 weeks later, Jensen called again. She's agreed to mediation, he said. Probably realized she can't win this. We scheduled the date for a Thursday morning. I showed up early, calm, collected, coffee in hand. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had that hollow look of someone who hadn't slept in days. She sat across from me, eyes darting everywhere except my face. Her lawyer did most of the talking, trying to sound confident, but clearly aware of how weak their case was. I didn't say much, just answered questions, signed where I needed to, and kept my expression neutral. After an hour, the mediator looked at both sides and said, "It's clear this isn't a contested divorce anymore." Her lawyer nodded reluctantly. We'll settle. When it was over, she followed me out into the parking lot. Mark, she called out. I stopped but didn't turn around. Please, she said, her voice trembling. I know you hate me, but I don't have anywhere to go. I finally turned to face her. You had somewhere to go? You just didn't want it until it was gone. She wiped her eyes. I don't know what to do now. I looked at her for a long moment, then said, start by taking responsibility. Then I got in my car and drove away. The papers were finalized 3 weeks later. Jensen called to confirm. You're officially free, he said. I thanked him and hung up. That night, I poured myself a bourbon and sat in the same recliner she used to complain about. The silence in the house wasn't lonely anymore. It was comfortable, honest. I thought about everything that had happened, about how quickly things can fall apart when one person stops showing up. But mostly, I thought about peace, that fragile, precious thing we all chase without realizing how loud chaos becomes until it's gone. Months passed, and life became simple again. I woke up early, worked hard, went running, read books, met new people. I wasn't looking for anyone, but one evening at the gym, a woman named Emily struck up a conversation. She was calm, grounded, nothing like Lauren. We talked about work, travel, small things that didn't carry any weight. It felt easy. And that ease, that lack of drama, was the thing I hadn't realized I'd missed most. One afternoon, I ran into Madison at the grocery store. She looked startled to see me, like she'd seen a ghost. Mark, she said, awkwardly adjusting her sunglasses. How's life? I smiled. Peaceful. She nodded quickly. Lauren's not doing great, she said softly, like she expected sympathy. She's been staying with her cousin, trying to get back on her feet. I nodded. I hope she does. And I meant it. I didn't wish her harm. I just wished her distance. That night, I sat outside on the porch, the air cool and quiet, thinking about everything that had led me there. Sometimes it's not betrayal that destroys you. It's the slow erosion of respect. And once that's gone, love becomes a ghost that lingers until you finally tell it to leave. She had chosen her freedom, and I had chosen peace. And as strange as it sounded, I finally understood that those two things aren't the same. The next morning, I got up before sunrise and went for a long drive with no destination in mind. The road stretched out ahead, empty and full of promise. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in years, I didn't need to. I just kept driving, the sky turning gold over the horizon, the world wide open again. And somewhere between the fading stars and the morning light, I realized something simple and true. Sometimes losing someone is the only way to find yourself. If you made it this far, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what you think. Because sometimes the quiet stories, the ones that start with heartbreak and end with peace, are the ones that remind us what strength really looks like.